My wife admitted to fantasising about her ex after he assaulted a man who insulted her. My wife and I have been together for 3 years now. Before I met her, she was in a relationship with a guy, we'll call him Henry, for a couple of years. Part of the reason they broke up was because Henry was irresponsible with money, impulsive, and didn't want to commit to a stable relationship, e.g. house, mortgage, at that point. They parted on good terms, and she said she was still in love with him when they split. I met her, and she said she's attracted to me for all the things Henry lacked. I got my degree, got a good engineering job with stability and benefits, already owned my own property when I met her and was ready to marry fairly quickly. Though she does not keep in touch with Henry, they still follow each other on social media and have mutual friends. I've met him a few times before at wider social events. He's more of a joker, outspoken, cocky, and in my mind very unlikable. It upsets me that she could ever have loved someone so arrogant and disrespectful. Recently my wife and I attended a friend's wedding where Henry was also present with his girlfriend. After the reception the bride and groom departed and a few of us decided to keep the night going at a local bar. When we arrived there were a few rowdy drinkers there already. At one point one of the men bumped into my wife, who was returning from the bar with me, and spilled some of his beer on the floor. He turned and said, "Watch where you're going." At this point I said, "Hey man, come on, there's no need for that," and he told me to fuck off. I figured, this guy could have a knife or anything, he has a buddy, I'm not about to get stabbed or jumped by escalating things. I've always been taught to de-escalate things and prioritize safety over everything. So, being responsible, I returned to the table with her. When we sat down Henry could tell we were a bit shaken, and asked what happened. My wife told him. Right away he stood up, walked over to the guy, and punched him square in the face, which knocked him to the ground. He grabbed him by the collar and punched him again, then told him to apologize. The guy was shouting and swearing, but after the second punch shouted an apology in our direction. Then others split them up, and Henry left, with our group following him. She feels incredibly guilty, which is why she confessed everything. She said she hasn't spoken to him since that evening except a Facebook message to thank him for standing up for her. I've seen the messages and believe her, and believe she feels guilty and ashamed. But I can't help but feel I've been cheated on, and that she's lost respect for me. What's more, I feel like even though I did the right thing, I fucked up that night in her eyes and she lost respect for me. What am I supposed to do in this situation? Comment. You should hire a guy off Craigslist to insult her when you're out so you can punch him in the face in front of her. But if that's not the kind of person he is, then all he's doing is just imitating her ex, and if that's the kind of person she's attracted to, then, I don't know, that's kind of a sucks to suck moment if it actually works in increasing her attraction to him. Yet I'll never change who I am for a woman. If she doesn't respect the person that I am, she can find someone else. I'm proud of my strengths and acknowledge my weaknesses. I can't change who I am. So I won't disrespect myself but trying to be someone that I'm not. Op should stand his ground. If she wants to be distant, then you be distant right back. She disrespected him and his feelings are valid. Basically he needs to tell her to make up her mind. Are you attracted to the person I am, or are you going to constantly be wishing to be with someone with a different personality? In my opinion, Op has one option. Respond to her with equal energy. Don't try to convince her that you are the Henry type of guy. Stay true to who you are. And if she wants to allow this incident to put a wedge in their marriage, then so be it. Don't tiptoe around this incident. Just see it for what it is. If she continues to show signs that she prefers a different kind of man, then let her go find him because he isn't you. Acknowledge the incompatibility and move on. A friend of a friend ended up getting deported because of a street fight. He was here for college and he and a few of his friends from his home country got into a fight with another kid from their home country. He said he only got in a few swings and that he didn't attack the kid when he was on the ground, but the kid they jumped ended up losing an eye on top of broken ribs and other scrapes and bruises. My friend went to court as a character witness for his friend, but his friend still ended up getting deported. He was like 2 semesters away from graduating. His girlfriend dumped him, his family disowned him, he's starting to bounce back but life has not been easy for him. One kid lost his eye and my friend's friend lost his future. Be careful out there. Next story 2. Is it acceptable to withhold money from boyfriend of 2 years who keeps asking to borrow money off me? I have been with my boyfriend for 2 years, it's been a long distance relationship and we have been seeing each other when we can as we both live in separate cities. He planned to move to my city when he saves enough money. My boyfriend is broke, not on good terms with family and owes me £6,500. He has graduated from university and has been asking for money since 1 year and a half. He says that he will return it once he finds a graduate job. At the moment he is working at a warehouse. He owes me around £6,500 and I pay for dates. I'm a student at university, and I live with my parents, and not financially stable myself. He fell ill last week, and I paid for his rent, food, and travel to work expenses so that he could keep his job and not become homeless. He continues to ask for money. I got him a watch for his birthday, he sent that to the pawn shop. I also paid for half for his laptop and he sent that to the pawn shop yesterday. He only tells me when he can't afford to get it back, and tries to get me to pay for it back. This is really so much pressure on me mentally, as he has taken half of my hard-earned savings. I feel so much resentment towards him, but I love him and I know if I don't help him he will become homeless. I feel that this resentment I have towards him is wrong, but sometimes I feel like leaving him. Before anyone says he is using me for money, I don't think that's the case as we are best friends. I know everything about him. He even gave me his card details, email, and phone passwords etc. If I have money, is it acceptable to withhold it if he really needs it and will become homeless otherwise? Comment. Is this even a relationship? They live in different cities, so the reality is she has no idea what he's doing 90% of the time. That and he's pawning all her gifts. Sounds to me like dude found a sucker to pay for everything and all he has to do is see her once in a blue moon for a paid night out. This literally isn't a relationship. Op needs to get out and find someone that's not going to use her like an ATM. I believe Op mentioned he has a warehouse job currently, which is at least better than nothing, but you are absolutely right. Whether or not he has a job, he is still using Op for her money instead of being realistic with his own. Why would he look for other jobs or save his own money when Op freely gives her money up with no consequences? Open your eyes, Op. I didn't even read anything beyond the headline because this is exactly it. You don't need to ask for permission. If you're married it's a bit different because the law gets involved. At least in the US anything you bring in marriage, debt, or surplus, tends to be split by a judge. I just saw your edit/update and I know I'm a random internet stranger, but I'm proud of you. Sticking up for yourself and doing what is best for you isn't always easy, especially when it comes to someone you live and care about. I hope now you can focus on making things better for yourself, and hopefully this is the kick in the pants he needs to get his life together. I wish you all the best, hun. Next story 3. My wife doesn't want me to go to friend's wedding because an ex might be there. I dated a woman in my friend group for about 8 months on and off, roughly 7 years before my wife and I met. My wife, Tina, was very uncomfortable with the ex, Maggie. After Maggie and I broke up we avoided each other for a bit, but eventually we ran into each other often enough that we stopped caring if we were at the same events, etc. We remained on friendly terms but never got too close or ever hung out on one in the following years. Eventually Maggie started dating a mutual friend and I had other girlfriends before meeting and marrying my wife. Tina thinks it is inappropriate that Maggie is in my friend group. In order to make my wife more comfortable I have removed Maggie from all social media and avoided any gathering where there was any possibility that she might show up. I have a large friend group and it has been tough to miss out on the big get-togethers, but figured I could compromise in this area for my wife's sake. Lately this has become an issue as there have been some important events where that ex might show up that I can't go easily skip. Earlier this summer my goddaughter had her first communion and Maggie was also invited. This was a big deal as my goddaughter's grandparents were coming over from Ireland, etc. Tina threatened to divorce me if I went to the celebration barbecue, saying I could attend the service, where Maggie would not be, and then should head directly home. Luckily it turned out Maggie couldn't make it, so my wife and I were able to go to the event for a couple of hours. Now I have a good friend getting married this weekend. My wife doesn't think we should go because if we run into Maggie at the wedding it might destroy this marriage. I have not seen or talked to Maggie since my wife and I got serious 3.5 years ago. I understand her being uncomfortable but don't feel right skipping a lifelong friend's wedding because we might bump into somebody I dated 10 years ago. I have promised to not talk to Maggie and to move tables if we are seated too close to Maggie, but Tina is still not satisfied. Any advice on how to navigate this? Comment. She is totally off tune here. Let her divorce you then. What manipulative crap is this? Comes from having given in the very first time. The other times just followed suit. That's huge bullshit. If after 7 years she is still that insecure and distrustful, then who will you have to sacrifice next? That will not get better. Your wife is being controlling and needs to get over her shit. It's been, what, a decade? More. Since you dated Maggie? You already removed her from all social media, you don't keep in touch, you don't even go to other group events where she might attend, which is already over the top in my opinion. Now she wants you to skip your good friend's wedding just to appease her insecurities. No, I would put your foot down. If your wife can't handle it, she should take it up with a therapist. Okay, so I went and looked at your past posts. Why are with such a terrible person? She's vain, rude, and controlling. Who cares if she's attractive? Looks aren't worth her insufferable behavior. So I'll double down on my call her bluff response. Chances are she's used to getting what she wants due to her looks. She needs pushed back on.